if you realize that because most of my audience they speak Mandarin.
I understood that because you did introduction
right.
Mandarin.
So I guess many of them, when they're watching this, when you talk about Russia, they think about China. When you talk about Ukraine, they think about Taiwan. When you talk about Russian community in Australia, they think about Chinese community in Australia. So back to your protest, I guess a lot of Chinese people approach you to say that you're wrong.
You're wrong.
Because that's what's going on in the Chinese media, because they're mostly controlled by the Chinese government. They're trying to push this narrative that Ukraine is the only one and the rest, they are responsible for this war. To them, you said that you had this like heated discussion with these guys, right?
I want to say that there've also been Chinese men who came and said that they actually agree with what we are doing, but so many of their friends in China don't see it this way. They argue with their Chinese friends, and they find it difficult to convince them. So I wouldn't say that every Chinese person who approached us during the protest was against our protest.
Right. Okay. So, but I know that the Chinese community, whether they're in China or in Australia, many of them, at least more than 50%, they actually buy this propaganda by the Chinese government. So there's no way to convince them because this information it's totally different information we are receiving. Different bubbles we're living in. So to all the Chinese, whether they are pro-Russia or pro-Ukraine, do you have any, from your perspective, from Russia's perspective, have any suggestion to them? What if it happens to you when China invades Taiwan?
I think it's really important for people to really try to understand political conflicts and conflicts between countries on their own terms, on the terms of that conflict. Not try to project their own problems and onto other countries. That's the thing. People need to really look at this conflict between Ukraine and Russia and try to read about history and what has actually happened. Understand the facts first before they start projecting and making comparisons to their own situation. At the same time, it is a good example of what can happen to how the world reacts to a conflict like this. And yes, China is in a very similar situation in relation to Taiwan. I think if China attacks Taiwan, the consequences will be very similar. Very similar. The West will consolidate, the world will consolidate around Taiwan. China will find itself behind a curtain. The trade relations will be destroyed. Absolutely, there will be more military threat as well, and Chinese people around the world will suffer from anti-Chinese sentiment. Unfortunately, that's the way societies work. So, my advice to Chinese Australians would be to really,
you just said that you voice your opposition to the war.
Do
you suggest them to voice
their support for Taiwan? I believe that we immigrants from our authoritarian countries, we're in a safe country, in a safe Western country where you can voice your opinions publicly, and you don't have to be you shouldn't be disrespectful, but you can always emphasize your values, right? I think the best way is to emphasize the values. What are my values? I believe in the value of human life, of individual human life. I believe in universal human rights. I believe in political freedom, freedom of conscience, and this is how I approach every situation, every political situation. There are plenty of things here in Australia which I don't like. I think Australian democracy is not perfect. The electoral reform is overdue. I think there is corruption in Australian politics. Mm-hmm. There is no federal anti-corruption commission.
Yes.
So if you really focus on the values, then you can independently assess the actions of different states, different governments, and you separate political actors from the people and the country. I do. Like for me, like I really love Australia. It's a great place, but it doesn't mean that I support everything that Australia does, that I'm blind to all the problems that exist here.
Right.
Same with Russia. There are so many things I love about Russia and appreciate about Russia, but if we have a government which is killing people and suppressing political freedoms, and of course I will be voicing my opposition to that. I'm not opposing Russia. I'm a patriot of Russia.
Right.
That's how I see myself.
About myself. Like,
Exactly. So if we focus on our values, if we really think about, okay, what's important to us, then it's kind of easy. In a way, you can voice your opposition to certain decisions. Mm-hmm. Even the government. Like I used to be a supporter of Putin for the first.
Since when?
Since he came to power until about 2006, 2007, yeah. I was supporting him.
Yeah.
At the time, I studied in the States. Mm-hmm. I lived in the States. Mm-hmm. I thought he was building a stronger Russia. It was getting more and more respected, and I thought he was doing a good job. And I thought that the Western coverage of Russia was very biased. Mm-hmm. I had liberal friends at a liberal arts university, and I thought they weren't really fair to Russia. Mm-hmm. and Putin. But when I saw all the different things, all the state corruption, all the kickbacks to his childhood friends, mm-hmm. Like his inner circle, they own so much of the Russian economy. Mm-hmm. When it became clear to me that Putin is really all about his personal power, mm-hmm. and personal wealth and the wealth of people around him, then I said, there's no way I can support that. When he was building a strong Russia, I was supporting him. But when he started doing things which are against the interests of ordinary Russians, and I was an ordinary Russian. I grew up in a housing complex with factory workers. Mm-hmm. I was from an intelligentsia family. My mother is an archaeologist, an academic. Mm-hmm. But I grew up with factory workers, the children of factory workers, and I have allegiance. Like I identify with ordinary Russian people a lot more than I identify with the elites. Mm. So for me, if the government is taking steps that are harming ordinary people, I'm going to voice my opposition to that. Mm. So, yeah, I don't know. It's a very long response to a simple question.
Right. No, it's all right. Just from your answers, because I talked to guys from Russia, from Ukraine, the freedom the Russian people they actually enjoyed before this war was appalling to me, because compared to China, what people be having in China. So all the things you say, like a freedom of conscience, the freedom of all those freedoms, I think in Russia you still have like let's say
we had a lot
50%
more.
or 60% of them.
Yes.
But in China we only have like 20-30%.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. I agree.
So that's I know that you're trying to find common grounds with people from the same Russian background, who have different political views. And I'm doing the same thing too with people from China. But it's quite hard to find the common grounds when the propaganda was so overwhelmingly different.
No, I understand. Yeah. But so what I'm trying to do is start with common ground first. So try to understand what are the concerns of those ordinary people in Russia or in China, what do they want? What do they want from life, right? What are the goals? What would they like to see their personal life being, like China as a country? Where do they want to see their country? And then from that goal, then, okay, so if you want China to be respected and be an equal partner and everything, so what's the best way of achieving that end? Is it through authoritarian path, through massive central power, or through democratic reforms?
Exactly.
And you can see immediately that, well, authoritarian path is so anti-Western, anti-global. The global community is built on democratic principles. Right? If you're going to support an authoritarian regime, authoritarian path, you're going towards isolation. You're going towards North Korea, really. Right now, yes, China is really big. It's a big trading partner, but it can just get switched off very quickly. And Russia has shown this.
That's the example, yes.
Russia has shown this, is that Russia was enjoying, Putin's regime was enjoying trade partnership, and all the oligarchs, their wealth was growing. They were spending it in the West, right? They were buying apartments and villas and yachts and everything, and they live a great life in the West. They don't spend time in Russia that much. They live in the West, and within a month, right, even weeks, all the doors started closing for them. Abramovich, he had Chelsea Football Club. He is forced to sell. Like the yachts are being seized. The mansions are being broken into. They're losing respect. They're losing property. They're losing everything, very, very quickly. And yes, the West will suffer from lack of cheap Russian gas. Okay, but the regime will suffer more. And the same for China. China can make it very painful for the rest of the world if it's not trading with the world, if it's not sending its products. But at the same time, okay, so if China stops doing that, how will it live itself, right? Because the Chinese economy has been so export-driven, then the Chinese economy will collapse as well, right? So this is what people need to understand. Like, you support an authoritarian ruler, eventually you will get to a point that he will destroy life for everyone, not just for himself and his regime, but for everyone.
So even if we don't share a lot of common values, but at least we can talk about interests. It's not about everybody's interests.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Richard. It's such an inspiration to me.
Thank you.
Thanks, mate.
Thank
you.
you.
Here you go.